Talk about, so a lot of people obviously have seen your videos like street fighting in the backyards and stuff like that, but like what was your first pro MMA fight like?
First pro MMA fight was in Fort Lauderdale. Dan Lambert actually had this promotion.
Wow.
I wasn't part of American Top Team. It was called AFC Absolute Fighting Championships, right? And Dan wasn't paying the fighters bad even back then. He was like trying to do well by them, you know. So my first fight was 500 to show, 500 to win. Outrageous money back then. And I got the fight. I was like 16, and I started hearing about the paychecks and stuff. And by the time I was 17, I'm like, I'm gonna sign up for this fighting stuff for a fact. Mom, I got this, bro. I'll fight like 6 times a year. It's like 1,000, but 6K, Mom.
Yeah, let's go.
You crazy? Out of here. You know? And my mom is like, what the f*** are you talking about? You're crazy. And I'm explaining to her, like, this thing I've been telling you about where you, the 2 dudes, you know, you fight in the cage and shit. And she's like, you're f***ing nuts. You know, like, she's never seen that. She's seen me go to, like, amateur competitions for striking and some grappling competition. But this cage fighting stuff, she's like, bro, what the f*** are you talking about,
Right.
you know? So I get my first fight and I can go over there and kick ass. It took like 5-6 fights, and then my mom started like coming around. She's like, all right, I like this shit, you know? So the first fight was a little tricky. And I made $1,000 and I sold like $300, $200 worth of tickets, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Let's go.
It was good. I got a knockout first round. The guy had like 14, 15 fights.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think I had just turned 18, so boom, I was able to take the fight, you know?
Wow.
Somebody from my gym was supposed to fight. They dropped out, and it was like 4 weeks. At the time, I was a gym rat. I was always in the gym, so they offered me to fight 4 weeks ago, and it was at 150 pounds. I used to walk around like 155 back then. It was perfect for me.
Yeah. Dang, that's
That
so
was the
fun.
first
Wow.
At that moment, you were like full send, like this is it.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
I already knew.
You already knew, yeah.
You know, and then I fought 3 more times that year, total of 4 for that year, and then I kept that up for a couple of years. And, man, I fought everywhere literally before the UFC, you know. I went overseas to Japan. I fought in Russia. I fought in many different promotions that are in the graveyard now that ain't here no more. But I fought in all these promotions, bro. And it was cool because I got a lot of experience. I fought in Japan when you could kick in the face, knee in the face, all types of shit. But you couldn't elbow, though. that was crossing the line.
Soccer kick him in the
God
head, but
forbid.
elbow.
Soccer
No,
kicked
no.
the fuck out of him, bro. But for real though, you get a takedown over there and you get the side mount. It makes it really worth it because you get one knee from side mount, everything changes.
Over.
Everything
Yeah.
changes, bro. It just takes one knee. But it also is kind of bad for the wrestlers though,
Yeah,
because here,
if you get
when you
defended.
get in the shot, now you get knee. You know, so Japan was cool, man. I got like 5 fights over there.
Nice.
Then after that, I came to Strike Force. No, my bad. After Japan, I came to Bellator. Then from Bellator, I went to Strike Force, and then UFC bought Strike Force.
Wow.
Yeah.
When was the moment within that where you knew or you kind of realized like, hey, like, I can be like absolute like at the top of the food chain in this sport? Like, you know, it probably takes time to kind of develop your skills and stuff like that. But did you have a moment in training or in a fight specifically, maybe after you like a big win where you were like, I could beat anybody in the world?
I always give credit to this motherfucker, Yves Edwards. He was like, I'm going to say my 12 or 13 fight. He had a documentary that I had seen since I was like 13 or 14 years old of him rearranging people's faces. He'd grab you in the Muay Thai clinch and he'd fucking send people to the hospital. It wasn't like 1 or 2 guys. It was like numerous guys that he had like really bad finishes on. He had good Muay Thai and relatively he had pretty decent ground. Like for MMA, he wouldn't get any damage and he was very good at popping back up to his feet, you know. So he was like a striker that was like a headache for even good grapplers and stuff. He had gone 6-0 in the UFC. He was on a 6-0 fight streak, and he would have been the champion and defended that belt and all types of stuff. But the UFC dropped the 155-pound division. They just had 170 and up for a little bit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he was like roaming the earth as like a free agent, you know. And I end up being in the same promotion as him, you know. And I go on a nice tear in this promotion. It was called Bodog. And I go out with the matchmaker, Enrique, one night, and he's like, we're in Costa Rica, and this guy's got one thing in his mind: chicks. Right? And I'm like, dude, I could help. You know what I'm saying? I'm fucking 20 years old, you know, fucking like trust me, I could help you out in this situation. I already knew the type of person was, bro, and we're partying, and I'm talking to all the girls and just bringing them to him. You know, I'm getting on this real good side, and like it's been a good time for him. You know, I've been making a good atmosphere. And I don't know, it's like 2, 3 in the morning. I got to catch my flight pretty soon. So I started talking to him like, yo, what's up with my next fight? What's up with my next fight? And basically, he was like drunk as shit. And I got him to write up this contract that I didn't think he'd follow through on it, but he fucking did. He gave me, I went from making like, at this promotion, I was making like $5,000 a fight to making $20,000 a fight, win or lose. And my first fight was going to be this guy, Yves. My second fight in the contract was going to be this guy, Yves Edwards. And I was like, yeah, let's do it, you know. So I got actually no, he was the first fight in the contract, so it was great for me, man. I went out with this dude one time, introduced him to a bunch of fucking scallywags, and brother, it was crazy, you know. And that was with the show and win money, because I was like 1,800 to show, 1,800 to win was my thing, and I went all the way to 20 flat.
Wow.
So it was a great time. But at that time also I was 3-0 with that company.
Yeah.
And I was able to negotiate that. And back then that was like great money, you know. So
yeah.
When I fought Yves, I was like 115th in the world, and he was number in any publication 1, 2, or 3, you know,
right.
in the world. So it was a fucking like a big step up in competition for me. And I trained myself like I never thought. I pushed it so much, you know. Like if I ran the mile back then at like 8 minutes, for this fight, for this camp, I was like running the mile at like 7:30, because I was genuinely afraid that this guy could break my fucking jaw piece, you know. Because he was known for it. He was pretty damn athletic, and I knew if I get tired, right, and I have a bad moment with this dude, there goes his jawline.
Yeah,
he's gonna, and I don't got insurance. Who's gonna pay for this hospital bill?
Right.
Nah, I was training so fucking hard, and just that mentality during that training camp. I started training. You know, if I used to train like 2 times back in the day, a day, 3 times a day at most, I was training like 4 times a day just to make sure my conditioning was sharp, everything was good, and I was able to keep a good pace. And I was running hard. I was training hard. I was like, man, this should be me always. You know. Good fight or no good fight, I should be able to bring forth this person. So the result obviously mattered, but I already knew going into that fight, like this is what I meant to do, and I could push it to another level I didn't even know. Thank God I got the win. I knocked him out in the second round, and it was like insane, you know. And that let me know, like, man, I'm here for a long time. Right. I mean, whoever the wants it, I think 21 or 22 years old, you know. So right. I knew that this game was for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. Were you at ATT back then?
I just had joined American Top.
Oh,
just had joined.
Wow.
Stars aligned.
I just had joined. And then he joined the American Top team. He had already joined as well, but he wasn't able to go there. And then he shortly were after me, him, and Mike Brown. And Mike Brown had fought him as well. And all 3 of us were teammates right after. Yeah. It was an interesting dynamic at first. And then Mike Brown was hovering at 155, but then he dropped down to 45 at the same organization we were in. So it was interesting, because if he would have stayed there, who knows, you know. I would have hated to fight Mike back then, but
yeah.
You know, me and Mike used to beat the crap out of each other.
In training?
Yeah, because
I didn't know y'all trained. I guess, because you were 55 for a long time.
Yeah, and let's say if I was like a freshman, Mike was like a junior when I got in there, you know. So we had a lot of time on the mat, like competitive Mike, you know, like the best years of Mike, I got to go with him, and it was he's a problem now. He was a real problem back then.
And then he basically became like your coach, which is so crazy.
Yeah, he became the head coach of American Top Team. Right when this was happening, Dan Lambert was going around asking us, numerous guys in the team, you know, like, hey, what do you think? I'm thinking about so and so, this, that. And I was like, when you put Mike Brown in the place that he needs to be in, we're going to be the greatest gym in the world. We hadn't really, we were doing well. American Top Team was doing really well. We had won a couple titles already. We had won a couple awards, but we didn't have that, like, gym of the year, 6 years in a row, 5 years in a row shit till Mike Brown, you know, and Mo Lawal as well, Steve Mako. It's a whole team of guys down there, as you guys know. But Mike Brown really turned the wave around for a lot of the fighters, you know. And he was also, coincidentally enough, like the first guy to get a belt in a major promotion. He beat Uriah Faber at the WBC. Knocked him out. And Uriah Faber was like the biggest name.
Yeah, the man.
Yeah,
back
he was
then.
he was a man. And Mike Brown went in there and did that thing twice, you know. So he showed it
Twice.
to all his teammates
Wow.
as well. Like, hey, we can
Awesome.
contend at this level. We go out there and get world championships. And for Mike Brown's always like a legend, bro.
If you guys like that clip, check out the whole podcast here and make sure to hit that subscribe button.